coming with vivid faces, coming from counter or desk among grey 18th century houses. I have passed with a nod of the head or polite meaningless words. I have lingered a while and said polite meaningless words. And though before I had done of a mocking tale or a jibe to please a companion around the fire at the club, being certain that day that I would live where motley is worn, all changed utterly, a terrible beauty is born. Too long a sacrifice can make a stone of the heart, or when it may suffice. This is heaven's part, our part, to murmur name upon name, as a mother names her child, when sleep comes at last has come, on limbs that run wild. Where is it but nightfall? No one, no, not night, but death. Was it needless death after all? For England may keep faith, for all that is done and said. We know their dreams enough to know that they dreamed and are dead. And what in excess of love bewildered them till they died. I write it out in a verse, MacDonagh, MacBride and Connolly and Pearce, now and in time to be, whenever green is worn, or change utterly, a terrible beauty is born.
The struggle for Irish freedom has gone on for centuries, and in the course of it, a well-trodden path has been made that leads to the scaffold and to prison. Many of our revered dead had trod that path, and it was these memories that inspired me with sufficient courage to walk part of the path, of the way along that path with an upright head. The words of Thomas J. Clarke. When the British occupying forces put him up against the wall of the Stonebreakers Wall in Kilmainham Jail just before 3 a.m. on the 3rd of May 1916 and shot Tom, those who gave the orders probably thought they had put an end to the Republic, the 32-county Republic that had been proclaimed by the leaders of the 1916 rebellion. But how wrong they were, and how wrong they still are. You cannot put an idea up against a wall and shoot it. And although those great martyrs were shot by British lead and buried in unmarked graves, covered in quicklime, the Republic proclaimed lived on. And the same idealism and belief in the right of all 32 counties of Éire to be free still lives on today. All the revisionist historians, politicians, fake Republicans, and their WEF masters in Europe, and of course the British Crown and their occupying army still camped in 6 of our counties know this. Recently I heard one of our so-called leaders talk about how we the Irish need to get away from our narrow view of what it means to be Irish. Standing here today in the town that Mary Palmer, Tom Clarke's mother, was reared in and married James, Tom's father in, we are part of the small group of believers who every Easter all over Ireland make the pilgrimage to our Republican commemorations to pay homage to our heroes. Here in the lovely Vee Valley, we are in an area steeped in the Republican tradition. The Fenians roamed the Boreens and sought refuge in the homes all along the Knockmeal Downs and the Galties. Father Sheehy rests out the road from here in Shanrahan, a rebel priest who dared to stand against the tyranny of British rule. He embodied the spirit of the Irish. He was not afraid to make a stand with his people. The White Boys first gathered a few miles from here in Drumlemon. They were a continuation of the rebellion against British occupation. Near my own home, Cranavone and Rooska Castle, James Butler fought against Cromwell at Fethard, and he too went to his death at the end of a British rope. This area was the landscape of revolution, where during the Tan War and Civil War, Sean Hogan and Denny Lacy took on the British Empire with their flying columns. All along the Vee Valley, from the Galties to the Knockmeal Downs, the local IRA active service units, backed by the great women of the safe houses in Cumbernauld. These were the people who continued the Tipperary tradition of resistance to British tyranny. It is probably no coincidence that Tom Clarke's mother hailed from here. In Kathleen Clarke, Tom's wife's book, Revolutionary Woman, she states, his mother was a Tipperary woman and his father from the Ballyshannon area of Leitrim. He was 10 years old when his mother and father brought him from South Africa to Ireland. He was wildly excited, coming into a country which was interwoven into all his childish dreams and imagination. A land of romance, heroism, a fairyland where everything was beautiful. There was no place in the world to compare with Tipperary and Ireland. As a result of his mother's constant talk of that wonderful place, the year he first saw Ireland was the year of the 1867 Rising, and his head was full in awe and stories of the Fenians. Is it any wonder, and hearing all the talk of the Fenians' attempt to free Ireland, that he developed that all-absorbing love for Ireland, for which no sacrifice was too great to make? In Ireland today, we have those who fear to speak of the great men of 1916. They will call the war from 1919 to 22 the War of Independence. It was not the war that brought us our freedom. It was just the latest in a series of armed rebellions. It was the Tan War. The Free State that came into existence was not what Thomas J. Clarke and all our heroes died for. The hypocrisy today of those that lay reach for the men of 1916 and then throw shade on the brave men who defended Catholics in the apartheid state of Northern Ireland in the 1970s and 80s. They fought the same illegal occupying army that Sean Tracy, Sean Hogan and all the greats of the IRA fought against down here. These are the fake Republicans who on one hand will sing the Galty Mountain Boy with gusto, praise Dan Breen and Denny Lacey. They talk of how the old IRA were somehow different than all the freedom fighters that came after. This is our history, and it's so important that it is told. We cannot erase it or should not attempt to sanitize it to suit an agenda. It's also important to remember Irish men and women in British-controlled prisons in Ireland today, many of whom would not be incarcerated